This week's Parsha is Parshat Shelach, and in Parshat Shelach, there's the classic story of the Meraglim, the spies. And there's a couple of things I want to learn from this story. You see, out of all 12 spies that were sent to Israel, only 2 remained true to Kadosh Baruch Hu and gave a positive report about the land of Israel. And that was Kalev ben Yefuneh and Yoshua ben Nun, or Yoshua ben Nun technically. And I want to see and look at how both of these 2 people survived and what we could potentially learn from them. From Yoshua ben Nun, we'll start with him. When he was about to go into the land of Israel, Moshe stops him. You see, Yoshua ben Nun was not born with the name Yoshua. His original name was Hosea. And Moshe says, before you go in, there's something I want you to do. Let's add a Yud to the beginning of your name, and you'll become Yehoshua instead of Hosea. Why would Moshe want to do this, and why specifically now? The answer is that Moshe wanted to put Hashem's name in Yehoshua's name. Because Yehoshua starts with a Yud and a Hey, making a Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. So Moshe says, stop, you're about to go through a test. So I'm going to add Hashem's name to your name. Why does he do this? What does this accomplish? What kind of goal was Moshe trying to achieve? He could have warned him, said you might have failed, don't do this, don't fall for the trap, that you're going into a difficult situation. But why did he specifically do this? The answer is quite simple. You see, that when a Jew goes through life, there's a reality that we need to take on to ourselves. You see, there's a story, for example. This man, he's going to the airport, and he's about to get weighed before getting on a plane. So he goes and he takes all of his bags and he gets on the scale. And the lady says, you're too heavy. So he takes some of the stuff out of his bag. He leaves his bags on the side and he goes back on. And the lady says, you're at a good weight, you're good to go. But then there's a man who he's very fat. He has no bags, but he's a very, very fat man. And this particular airline, just like the guy before, they weigh the person and the plane and the bags. This guy gets on. And he gets on the scale and they say, sir, you're too heavy. And the guy says, what can I do? There's nothing I can take off. See, a Jew needs to realize what we can take off and what we can't. What's a part of us and what's not a part of us. Putting down the phone isn't taking away a part of who we are. Closing the laptop doesn't take away a part of who we are. But if somebody tells us to put away a Kadosh Baruch Hu because it's too heavy or it's too difficult, then we should know that I can't take that part off of me. What Moshe was reminding Yehoshua was that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a core part of your identity. So much so that I'm even going to put it in your name. The next person is a man by the name of Kalev. Now, there's a lot of debate as to how Kalev was able to survive this tremendous test. Moshe had to intervene for Yoshua ben Nun, but Moshe didn't intervene for Kalev. So how was it that Kalev was able to withstand such a test? Chazal tell us that he was able to because he went to a specific location which gave him chizuk, and that was the Marat HaMachpelah. Kalev goes to the Marat HaMachpelah because he wants to acknowledge where he came from, who his avot were, who were buried there, our ancestry, the Gedolim that came before him. Some of our avot and imahot were buried there. And according to some, even Adam and Chava were buried there, according to some opinions. So he had to go there in order to connect to where he was from, to who he came from, in order to be strong enough for the test. See, we go through our daily lives and a lot of the times we could get caught up in a mistake. But if we were to think to ourselves, would the descendant of Avram Avinu go to where I'm going? Would the descendant of Moshe Rabbeinu look at what I'm looking at? Would the descendant of Yaakov Avinu watch what I'm watching? And if the answer is no, then we shouldn't do those things. See, the keys of knowing how to not sin is to know that God is in every single one of us, and to know that we are the children of giants. We are the children of Avram. We are the children of Yitzchak. We are the children of Yaakov. You have to know where we came from. You have to know who you are and where we came from. And I'll end on a story. There was a man, he was in Russia, and he was learning Gemara while eating food. And the Russian guard back then, they weren't too happy with the Jews. They didn't like them so much. So he goes and he yells at the man, "Who are you? And what are you doing?" And the man, taken aback, he lifts his head at the Gemara and he tells the Russian, he says, "I will pay you money to yell at me in the exact same tone every day those two questions. Who are we and what are we doing?" So B'ezrat Hashem, I hope that all of us remember who we are. Remember that Hashem is a part of every single one of us. And remember that we are the children of huge tzaddikim. And with that in mind, B'ezrat Hashem, may we not come to do sin. Chazak u'baruch.